Google knows everything about everyone in this room. Knows where we are at all times. Listening to our conversations, even when we're not using our phone, it's listening. Google knows how long your thumb hovers above certain links. That's amazing, isn't it? Knows how long your thumb hovers there. They still haven't figured out how to direct me home without leading me into roadworks. It's weird, isn't it? I was on my way home 2 weeks ago. Google Maps led me into a big thing of roadworks. It wasn't a burst water main that had cropped up that day. It was the metro tunnel. They've been building that for 4 years, Google. Like, come on, mate. I know that that's there, now that I think about it. You know what I mean? I'm not Google, am I? I'm just a regular person. I read an article about 7 years ago about how they were planning to build that metro tunnel in Melbourne. I found that article on Google. That's where it was. So someone in the fucking building knows that it's there. Do you know what I mean? Get that person to have a coffee with the person from Maps. Hey, mate, there's a tunnel in Melbourne, by the way. I mean, it's not hard. I feel like Google knows so much about everyone, which is bad. They've set that precedent, it's bad, they've stolen all our privacy. But now that they have that precedent, now that it's being done, at least use our secrets to make the maps more convenient. Use our lives, like all the details of our lives, all the stuff you know about us, chuck it in the maps, make it interesting. The maps should be this detailed. It should be like you're driving down and it says to you, turn right here to avoid the red light. You'll drive down a small alleyway, there'll be a young man crossing the road. You can swerve to avoid him if you'd like, but that'll take 3 seconds off your journey. Alternatively, you can drive straight through this young man, which might seem unethical at first, but this particular young man, he's actually a football player. He's been training really hard to play in the AFL. He's 18 years old. He might get drafted this year. But every night at 8:15 p.m, he sits down on his laptop at home and he types into Google, ways to tell my dad that I don't want to be a footy player. And he reads article on techniques and coping strategies to deal with the fact that he doesn't want to play AFL and his dad really wants him to. So if you drive straight through him and wreck both his ACLs, you'll give him the excuse he needs for his dad. Make your choice, do you know what I mean? And then we have the power to be like, all right, I'll do that for the kid. I'll hit him, I'll do it, that's fine. Little things like that, do you know what I mean? Let's make it like a video game. You're driving down the freeway, it's like, that guy's rude to his wife or whatever, and then you can clip him or, I don't know, like just tell us shit about each other and then we'll play around with it a bit, do you know what I mean? At least most importantly, use my secrets, Google, to make my journey more convenient. Like at this stage, Google, you know so much about me, you shouldn't be getting confused when I'm on my way home and I pull into the Macca's drive-thru. Like, come on, Google, that's not. Like, do you know it always goes, please proceed to the route. Please proceed to the route. You know the fucking night that I just had, Google. This is now the route, obviously. Like, you're listening to our conversations, you're tracking where I am, you know I was at that work drinks, it didn't go that well. That guy Scott asked me if I knew Sophie. Looking back on it, obviously he's talking about Sophie, who we work with, but in that moment I was like, is he talking about my ex-girlfriend? It was like fresh out of lockdown, social anxiety. You know when you're just talking quickly? Like you're just talking, I just started talking about my ex-girlfriend. I was like, oh, how do you know Sophie? Blah, blah, blah. For like 2.5 minutes. And he was trying to interrupt. But I thought he wasn't interrupting to say anything interesting. I thought I was on a roll, so I just kept going. After like 3 minutes, he interrupts and he goes, I didn't mean your ex-girlfriend. I meant Sophie who's over there. And she'd heard it as well. And I just had to be like, oh, sorry. And then you know when you have a conversation like that at the start of the night and you're off kilter for the whole night? You're just slightly off. You try to get back in your mojo, back in your swing, you make a few jokes, nothing goes well. I had that night, Google. You know all that shit. You're listening to me. You know I'm getting a double quarter pounder after an ordeal like that. Obviously. It shouldn't be news to you. I shouldn't even have to pay. It should already be direct debited from my Google account. I should be able to just park at the window, not even make eye contact, grab my meal, pull straight into the car park, eat while I cry, while you say something like, don't worry, this is just a small detour on your road to happiness. There's some things I like about driving. My favourite thing about driving, like I hate Google Maps, my favourite thing about driving, I reckon, is flashing my headlights after a speeding camera. Whoo! Fuck me. I don't know if you guys drive around in the country much, but you know, when cops pulled over, speeding camera, you flash those heads. Oh, that's the best feeling in the world, isn't it? That is, oh my God. I've never done heroin, but from the descriptions I've been given, I feel like it's similar, that euphoria. Oh, I love it. It's the best. I get a bit aroused when I do it. Is that weird? Sometimes I do it, I go, fuck, I'm a bit engorged now. People from work here. Engorged is the grossest word, I've decided. I think it's my least favourite word in the whole engorged. I love flashing my headlights after a speeding camera. I love it so much. I do it every time. Like every single time. Like I warn every single person. I've never not warned anyone. I do it too much, if anything. 80 Ks past, still flashing them. Confusing people. I think because the thing is, and whatever, I think the reason I love it so much, I hate cops, right? If there's any cops here tonight, I'm sorry, I hate you. But I'm not like brave. I'm not going to do anything with that thought. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to tell a cop that out there. I can say it here because it's art. I can't do anything. As soon as I get out there, I'll be so scared, so apologetic. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, officer. You're so scary. You've got a gun. I'll suck your dick. I'll do whatever. I'm so sorry. Blah, 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 blah. But I will do whatever I can in my life to bring them down. I'm like Batman, you know what I mean? Last year, middle of lockdown, I found a speeding camera in Melbourne. I parked 30 metres past it, sat there all day. I did a 12-hour shift. How good's that? May 24th, 2021, Darebin Road, they didn't get a single person. I'll flash the headlights in any situation. No matter what's happening in my life, I'll find a way to flash the headlights. My ex-girlfriend and I, we were driving through the Grampians once, right? We were camping, we're looking for a campsite, and we got lost, right? We got lost on the drive. You know when you're in a relationship and like we started arguing about getting lost, you know when sometimes you have an argument and then it just leads back to something else? It leads to an argument that you often have. It always like goes back to the same spot. That happened. We're driving, we got lost, ended up at this same argument. We used to have this argument all the time. I think all couples have this argument. It's very common. It's that one where, very common. She was saying stuff like, she was going, you know, like you're so avoidant. Anytime we try to talk about our emotions or our relationship, you always change the subject to something trivial. And I was going, no one knows what Macaulay Culkin's name is, hey? People know how it sounds as a whole sound, but they don't know where his first name ends and his second name begins. I think when he comes up in conversation, people just say it quickly and assume no one will question it. Macaulay Culkin, Macaulay, no one knows. We kept driving, and we kept getting more and more lost as we were arguing. It was like getting worse and worse. We're arguing more, getting more lost. She starts going, she's like, you're afraid of commitment. I was like, Home Alone was such a big franchise, and yet still. Macaulay Culkin. Oh, God, no idea. Macaulay Culkin. And then we drove past the speeding camera, right, at about that point, and I couldn't help it. She was midway through saying something, and I interrupted her. And I was like, hey, I know this is really important, but can you flash this car? There's a speeding camera. I think you should flash them. Just warn them. She was like, are you fucking serious? I was like, no, you're right. That was silly. She was driving. I was like, it's okay. I can do it for you. And I leant over. And that wasn't a good move, actually. In retrospect, that didn't go down that well. Ended up, she was like, you don't care about this conversation. You don't care about our relationship. Maybe we should break up. I was like, I think it's just a small detour on our road to happiness. And I was wrong. So it was an exit.